Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is, I don't even know, April 9th, YC127, and this is the Eve Universe Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's it going, guys? Settle on in, like the stream, subscribe if you're new. Hi, puppy. How's it going, guys? It has been a while. My life has been complicated, and unfortunately, because of that, streaming has been very difficult to do. We had spring break, and then a whole bunch of just a series of minor and not so minor crises. But I think, wait, the mic just left? Wait, what? Can you guys hear? You guys can hear me, right? The levels look good. But yeah, I am here, and okay, hi. The event is over, or at least the race for the hives is over. We have our winners, and oh, my bad. Oh yeah. I really should listen to how that sounds. I tried to turn it down a little bit. Hold on. I think my mic is a little bit up right now, which is normally people complain about the fact that I'm too loud or too quiet rather. So I'm trying to get this level just right. What's up? Hold on. Come on, good girl. Puppy time. It is my co-pilot Zoria. Hey, up here. There you go. Good girl. So the event is over. We have our winners. But the next event is already announced, and we kind of know a little bit of information about it. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at the results. We've got a couple of World of New Eden news to catch up on. We've got the economic report, because we now have the mic could not match the excitement. That's correct. We have monthly economic report, which is kind of interesting given everything that's been going on, especially with nullsec. The Revenant major update has rolled out, and I think has been rather successful, dare I say, in at least making the changes that they wanted to make, for better or worse. But we'll look into all of that. But first of all, how you guys doing, man? Sorry if I'm a little bit low energy. Like I said, it's been a lot recently, guys. It's been a lot. But I knew I wanted to get back to being live with you guys. Hi. So here we are. Yeah. And we've got plenty to talk about. So let us begin first and foremost with, I guess we could just catch up on the older news first. We've got two New Eden newses to go over. Oh, actually, before we jump into the news of the events and everything, I do want to cover the fact that Eve Frontier is going to be free to play for everyone once again in 2 days as of this recording. So it's going to be from 11th to the 21st of April. Eve Frontier is going to be open to everyone to check it out. So yeah, we're going to see how the NDA relates with all of that. I know that they lifted a big chunk of the NDA, but there is still enough of it that I'm a bit concerned about it. Any advice for new people joining Frontier? Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know if anything significant has changed. Probably not. But oddly enough, when you first start out, one of your first objectives should be to get over to one of the major stations. So if you're still in space, you might want to consider how do I say this without YouTube freaking out? Terminate your currently active clone so as to wake up in the local station. No, it's a pretty fun game. It's pretty bare bones. Mine steel fine. Usually there's steel purchases, buy orders up in all of the major stations for you to be able to make some IS going forward. But really, honestly, I just check it out and see it as a proto Eve that you can figure out all the details. Yeah, there's lots of groups in the game too if you want to get involved. But yeah, I'd say just jump into it and be prepared to learn and realize that it is, at least at the beginning, very much a mining oriented game. I'll put it that way, at least from what I've seen before. They might change some stuff though. Okay, so we have a new event coming on the 15th that is the follow-up to the current Drifter Crisis event. Let's go ahead and look at, we have 2 New Eden news that we kind of left behind that we want to catch up on. Puppy just wants to say hi to everybody. No, Eve Frontiers is a pretty fun game, especially if you like Eve's style, but you want it to be kind of a little bit more freeform. Hi. What? It's definitely worth checking out, I would say. If you enjoy Eve, it's definitely worth checking out Eve Frontiers. I'll say that. Okay. Let's see. Really? Let us get started with the first New Eden news from March 19th. So, almost a month ago, 20 days ago. So this New Eden news is from mid-event. Okay, we're just going to kind of walk through everything. If you guys want to know what was going on before that, I have, of course, plenty of videos from the beginning of the event where we talked about the lore and the current going-ons and everything. The Drifter Crisis, by the way, is still going on. Let me double-check that. Interstellar events. Yep, Drifter Crisis is still ongoing. So there's still sites to go to, but you can no longer earn points or go down the reward track. So I assume that there's going to be less people doing them. And you can kind of see that the... So like this Drifter Crisis has been up for almost 4 days now. Hold on. And it is only at 75% influence. And it's one of the highest currently ongoing. So without the extra points, the Drifter Crises, like there's been a lot less people running them, which means they are still a really good opportunity for people who want to make ISK. There are the 3 different sites. There's the capacitor, capping up the dread site. There's the rep the tower site. And there's the salvage site, as well as the scanning hacking site. Going on in those systems. The hacking one is soloable, but I think rewards up to 3. The salvage is maximum reward at 3 up to 6, and the other 2 are maximum reward at 5, and then stops paying out after 10. So if you have a small fleet, it's a really good way to do it. There's fits available. Each of them have kind of a trick. We did them all on stream previously, so you can go check those out too. But so again, this is from 20 days ago, almost. Let me line this up. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and this is your New Eden news for March 19th, YC127. Latest results in race for Drifter Hives as harmonics come into effect. Race continues as harmonics results published. Significant changes in research and development as crisis sites across the cluster after first week of the newly dubbed Race for the Hives. Thousands of Capsuleers have joined the competing factions in an effort to develop means to occupy the Drifter wormholes. Only the top 5 factions will be able to put their new technology into effect and occupy one of the 5 Drifter wormhole systems. Research is also finally been completed on the Warden connection harmonics recovered by Capsuleers from Tabitzer. A heavily redacted research paper published by the Caldari State's School of Applied Knowledge has shown that harmonic sequences can be constructed in order to open up a backdoor to the Warden and Zarzak. This backdoor is based on accessing a network of hyperspace connections that are routed through the Warden itself. It is theorized that this network is connected to the hyperspace telemetry used to predict drifter activities and their wormhole systems. Because of this, access to the harmonics provides significant advantages in research and development of methods of drifter wormhole occupancy. Race for the Hives results in full. So this is where they were at again on the 19th of last month. Triglavians at 29%, down 17%. Caldari 14%, up from 8%. Mimitar 14%, up from 8%. Edencom 9%, up from 5%. Angels 9%, up almost a percent. Amar is 7.2, down 6.8%. Galente 5, down 3. SOCT 3.5, up 2, almost 3. Upwell 3.5, up 1. Evermore 3.5, up almost 0.5%. Information was leaked today by an anonymous source, including the analysis of what the research progress would have looked like without the advantages gained by the access for the Warden connection harmonics. If this information is correct, it tells an interesting story about how the harmonics has impacted the current situation. So we can see here that the red ones had their overall percentage lowered, while the blue ones had their overall percentage increased. So it looks like Mimitar and Evermore, with some Amar, had the majority of the harmonics turned in. Now, there was some confusion during this because it's like, well, how do these percentages go down? That's because this is the total, represents the overall percentage of the total amount gained. So in other words, of all of the points acquired, period, by all players through all methods, 30% of those points have been acquired by the Triglavians. Okay? At least at this point. The majority of the harmonics gathered by Capsuleers were handed over to the Mimitar Republic. It was the Republic fleet that carried out Operation Harmony Breach and Tabitzer, the 2 military strikes that revealed the harmonics to New Eden. The second highest number of harmonics were given to the Triglavians, almost half as many as the Mimitar, with the Caldari receiving the third most, a little over half as many as the Triglavians. Despite these generous submissions, the shift towards Mimitar slightly negatively impacted the overall positioning of these first and second place factions. The impact would have been more notably greater had it not been for the harmonics that they received from dedicated Capsuleers. So, yeah, so like the Trig went down 17%. But they only have a tiny sliver of from the harmonics because their own harmonics kept them up, which means the vast majority of this down are players farming on behalf of most likely the Caldari, the Mimitar, Edencom, and Amar. And we're going to see that play out a little bit more. So top harmonics contributors, Debs from the gives to the Mimitar, Comey to the Mimitar, Remilia to the Caldari, Voana to the Triglavians, and Chief 6 to Evermore. The Triglavians have seen a significant reduction in their leads. Despite that, they remain the clear front runners with almost double the share of the Caldari's second position. More and more Capsuleers continue to flock to the Triglavians with their long history of conflict with the Drifters and their powerful technology. The Caldari have risen to second place thanks to a growing group of dedicated Capsuleers who have carried them from 5th to 2nd place. This rise is only fitting considering their rapid response to the Drifter threat that was pushed back in New Caldari last week. The Capsuleers who triumphed over the Vigilant Dreamer in New Caldari were awarded the Honor of Landfall Medal by Chairman Akimaka Saraki. In an announcement by the Landfall Monument in New Caldari, Saraki praised those who had fought on the Caldari capital system as, quote, war heroes who understand the importance of duty. 77 Capsuleers received the medal, including one of the top harmonics contributors, Remilia Malita. Saraki went on to caution those against rising support for the Triglavians. They stole our worlds and plunged our stars into darkness. Long ago, these masked invaders abandoned their humanity to the abyss, along with their honor. We must trust ourselves and our state in this coming fight. It is we, Caldari, who are the cluster's best hope for victory, end quote. The Angel Cartel has slid into 5th place, a slim fraction behind Edencom. Security forces throughout the cluster are reporting rising crime indicative of massive shifts in New Eden's underworld as the cartel operatives make ready for the new technologies they hope to gain. Edencom is the only group to enter the top 5, only new group to enter the top 5, having made a huge rise from their initial 7th position. Provost Marshal Kasia Valkanir delivered a speech to the Concord Assembly urging those to invest in Edencom. Chairman Saraki and the other leaders of Concord member nations are mistaken if they think that going it alone is going to win them this war. A single nation cannot stand against the Drifter threat. Edencom is a dedicated special force. It was we who held the line against the Triglavians, and we are the only ones capable of shutting down the Drifters once and for all. Once more, we are ready to stand against any who would threaten our way of life, not for one nation, but for all of humanity. Zoria is happy doggo, that's true. The Amar have fallen out of the top 5, despite the positive impact in their relative position due to harmonics. The Royal Palace has declined to comment on the shift, while the Royal Houses still present a unified front. There are rumors that critics of the Empress have blamed their declining progress on her failure to inspire the faithful. The Galente Federation has continued to struggle as well, unable to rise from 7th place. The SOCT has begun to slowly advancing, but has only climbed up to 8th place. Evermore has fallen to last place despite acquiring significant number of harmonics. Upwell has similarly failed to inspire dedication to Capsuleers of New Eden. These two massive corporate entities' attempts to compete with major nations and the military forces of New Eden have so far failed to bear fruit. While the consortium has declined to comment, President of Evermore, Alexander Ducassi, has given an interview to IMN affiliates this morning stating that, quote, the competition is not over yet, and while we may not have the numbers of nations like the Caldari Triglavians, I can assure you, Evermore is not to be ignored, end quote. News in brief. New protocols fix deep flow rifts, research data losses. Factions filter out junk data going forward as overabundance of data received from limited numbers of crisis sites. Academics across New Eden join Eve University as it celebrates its 21st anniversary. Intaki Syndicate planetary smuggling operations on rise amidst wartime black market trading. SOCT representatives denied entry to Mimitar and Caldari research institutions. Hell yeah. Republic University professors threaten strike after funding diverted to wartime research. Rumors of Hana Shikari's death proved false after spotted during nightclub police raid on New Caldari. And New Highland Tukos biography Beyond Borders tops bestseller lists. That's it for your New Eden news on March 19th, YC127. We did cover some analysis, but it is worth noting. So, like, one of the things I found amazing was that apparently CCP did not expect the Triglavians to do as good as they were, which is mind-blowing to me, considering, A, how much support there is for the Triglavians, just holistically within the EVE community, but also, like, that very group have been absolutely dying for some sort of activity from the Triglavians. So the idea that, like, we can force the Triglavians to do something just by winning this competition, I think that the Triglavians winning this handedly is by far the least surprising thing of this entire event. I think the most surprising thing, to me at least, and this may show my own bias, is the support to Edencom, man. The fact that the Edencom did so well up until this point shows me that, like, there's still... Like, the fun thing about Edencom, or the thing about Edencom, was that a lot more people supported Edencom than CCP expected to during the Triglavian invasions. They didn't expect there to be an organized support for Edencom during the invasions, and yet there was. It's one of the reasons why Edencom didn't receive very much at the end of the invasions. But because of that, a lot of people walked away from that with really, really bad taste in their mouth when it comes to Edencom specifically. And in fact, it's the reason why when they were coming up with the Deathless with his Havoc expansion and the what are they called now? Insurgencies? They're insurgencies, right? So many I names. Any rate, when they went to go do that, they originally had the enemy be Edencom. but there's such bad blood for Edencom that the faction warfare guys didn't want to support Edencom by fighting the Deathless. And so at the last second, Edencom kind of got swapped out for Upwell as the primary op 4 for the Deathless and his attacks in Havoc. So the fact that Edencom still has such a high showing, I think is really surprising. And I think that this is fueled almost 100%. Like, whether or not you like the Triglavians or you hate the Triglavians, you have an opinion about the Triglavians. And a lot of people, almost half of the population made some sort of decision based on whether or not they like the Triglavians, or at least half of the points earned. Yes, don't forget to like the stream. Also in the news and brief, we can see, like, this was based on the idea that for about a week, they made it so that people could swarm the sites in as many numbers as they want. So we saw fleets of 100 people plus. I thought it was a pretty amazing organic thing to have happen, where we have these public fleets of 100 plus people going into sites, doing salvage and stuff, getting the rewards. Some people are just sitting there, soaking up the rewards or whatever. But honestly, I don't think it really necessarily mattered. Like this, it did have a lot of influence on the thing. Some people didn't like the fact that there was the swarms or whatever. But I think that it was this really, really interesting organic moment for EVE Online, where players, like, it just shows that if you have these kinds of things where you eliminate the need to compete over the sites, but give them a reason to need to work together for the sites, what you see is this massive effort. This with a lot of good, there's a lot of good hanging out and chatting in fleet chat, and these kinds of like solely positive public fleet experiences are incredibly rare in EVE Online. And I think that that was a really great thing to have happen. I think that it was important for them to rein it in after a period of time. Otherwise, it would have dominated the entire situation. But those who wanted to actually run it for real were being pushed out by those who were swarming it. But for that window of time, there was some really interesting public fleet activity with over 100 people in it, just happening organically. Also, let's see. The SOCT getting kicked out of the Mimitar and Caldari research institutions. Remember, Concord was recently caught being used by the Amar as a method to spy on the Caldari by the Mimitar. It kind of caused this whole realignment. So the SOCT, which is also part of Concord now, has been pushing forward this anti-deathless stuff, but this denying entry. We've seen this before with Edencom, with the Mimitar, to show that the Mimitar don't trust those people. So now we're seeing it with the SOCT, and I think great. SOCT are very shady. And then Hana Shikari, if you guys remember during the New Eden News when we were getting reports from inside of the Fulcrum, the very creative writer that was writing her stories from inside, that was Hana Shikari. So she's not dead. She's escaped, and she is now she last seen in New Caldari. And then Highland Tukos, who of course was the big explorer who defected to Eifer and Co. and then ran the joint operations with the Capsuleers to discover stuff about wormhole space, Anoikis. You can still find Site 1 in, I can't remember what system it is anymore. But, so Highland Tukos has been one of the earliest explorers of wormhole space. He was the guy who discovered exploit often. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. This is one of the, this event was a good example of, I wanted to stream to get people up to date about what was going on, but A, my life was chaos, but also B, things were changing so fast. It was one of those things that, if you were on the Discord or paying attention, you got to get in on it, and you got to make a lot of money and have a lot of fun and get a Drifter plug suit and all that sort of stuff. But if you didn't, you could miss it in a few days and phew, it was gone. So it's a good excuse to come onto the Discord and be paying attention to what's going on every day. But so Highland Tukos is, he was the guy who first discovered the drifter hives and the invasion of the drifters back in 2015. He was killed by the drifters, and they seem to have used his identity to try to get us to collect stuff for them. This was all back in 2015. I talked about that. I've talked about that in many lore systems or streams. 07. So just kind of bringing him up again, which I think is interesting considering the fact that we're about to go into the drifter hives. And I think that's about it for this one on the 19th. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This is your New Eden news for March 28th, YC127. MIO claims Angel sabotage as race enters final days. Ministry of Eternal Order accuses Angels of sabotage. Of Hideon University research facility on Rumida 2 has been destroyed in a gas explosion. The Ministry of Internal Order has declared the explosion an act of sabotage, blaming the Angel Cartel for the apparent attack. The location was one of Hideon University's planet-side facilities working on research and development projects in partnership with the Amar Empire. According to the MIO, this was the latest in a series of suspected attempts by the Angel Cartel to disrupt Amar research efforts. Other events cited include power blackouts, communication jamming attempts, and missing shipments. The MIO has refused to release any specifics about these supposed events. The ministry has also denied independent investigators access to the facility on Rumida 2, causing concerns over the validity of their claims. The Ministry of Internal Order has been quick to act, conducting a number of raids on suspected Angel Cartel hideouts. According to the ministry, there's been 217 confirmed executions, but no arrests. Criminology experts have estimated that this would represent a tiny fraction of the Angel operatives within the Empire. Amar security forces have reported a rise in violent crimes associated with the cartel, implying that the Angels may have been emboldened by the ministry's attempted crackdown. While the MIO refuses to comment on the nature of the research being disrupted, it is widely known that the Amar and the Angel Cartel are in fierce competition for 5th place on the ongoing race for the hives. This is the ongoing competition to develop technology that will allow the occupation of drifter wormhole systems. With only 5 drifter wormholes available, only the leading 5 factions will be successful. Research teams in the Caldari State School of Applied Knowledge have reported that they are merely days away from making a final breakthrough in the development of drifter wormhole access technology. As the competition enters its final stretch, it will be the actions of Capsuleers that decide who gains access to this new frontier that leads to the war against the drifter menace. And Race for the Hives results in full. We see Triglavians are down 2.7%, Caldari up 0.5%, Mimitar down 1.3%, Edencom up 1.1%, Angels up 0.5%, Amar up 2.5%, Galente down 0.5%, SOCT up 1/3 of a percent, Upwell 0.2%, Evermore 0.5% down. And we can see that not a lot has changed since last time. We still see the main top 5 be Triglavians, Caldari, Mimitar, Edencom, and Angels. Let's go ahead and look, double check. Yep, Edencom, Angels. So it was at the same overall positioning as of this point. The top positions remain steady despite shrinking gaps across the board. The Triglavians have safely secured 1st place, and the Caldari State has edged further ahead of the Mimitar, who still hold a secure 3rd place. Edencom are similarly confident of success in 4th place, and have already begun to widen their recruitment base in anticipation of the coming change. Most attention is given to the battle for final slot, with the Amar creeping up on the Angels. The Empire and the Criminal Cartel are neck and neck, and though the Angels still retain a slim lead, they will need to keep up their efforts as the Amar advance. The Galente remains squarely in 7th place, the furthest back of any of New Eden's major nations. The failure to inspire a competitive research program or gather dedicated Capsuleer support has led President Celis Agard's political opponents to criticize her leadership. That's it for your New Eden news on March 28th, YC127. So what we see here is that not a lot has changed, like in the grand scheme of things, but they're really playing up the conflict between the Angel Cartel and the Amar, as they are neck and neck at this point. A lot of people in real life during this time, a ton of people were beginning to side with the Amar, and the Amar were becoming increasingly active and engaged in order to try to take the position of take over the position of the Angels. I didn't see any real movements from the other groups to like rally their forces, probably because the Amar and the Angels were so close, and because it was the difference between being in the top 5 and not being in the top 5. But we saw a massive upsurge in Amar participation. And then I just realized also, finally, where was it? Wasn't there a results page? Could people switch who they supported? No. Once you picked your guy, you were locked in. But you could always roll, like each of your characters could make a decision. So I know there were some people that played one and then the other. Do we not? Is there no... Where was the... in the dev blog? Which dev blog? Capsuleer Day? Is it this one? It is. Okay, great. All right, so now we can move on to your... Or to work this out. We have now the conclusion of the event. This was posted 5 days ago on the 4th. Capsuleer Day 22 is coming on the 15th of April, which is, hey, what's going on? How's it going? We're doing good. We're doing good. We're just getting through all of the news that has happened over the last, like, month or so, getting people caught up. So this is where things start to get big, okay, guys? Capsuleer Day is the anniversary of EVE Online. It's EVE's birthday, okay? It happens usually at the beginning of April. And this is going to be the next stage in this event. Now, in the last few years, they have decided to up the ante when it comes to Capsuleer Day. And also, Capsuleer Day has more frequently, recently, been tied into whatever happens to be the big thing going on at the time, right? So in other years, Capsuleer Day has involved preparing for invasions with Eating Com, facilities coming under attack. And I think last year was one of the very first signs that something was going on when it comes to the Drifters and the Triglavians with the they brought back the Doctor Who event with the abyssal battlefields that we had to like build the keys to go in there to find hacking sites and combat sites and all that sort of stuff. They basically redid the hey, Stoic Protector with 5 gifted subs. 07 to you. Thank you so much for that. I wonder if the Drifters will pull another event like they did last time in Safazan almost 10 years ago to Jamil Sorum. Well, probably not that exact same thing, but what's going on, Stoic? It's good to see you. Okay, so this is going to be a big one, guys, is basically what I'm trying to say. It's the next big event, it's the next big track, and it's the next big plot point. So, intrepid Capsuleers, the Drifter Crisis is about to reach a breaking point, and you might be the deciding factor. Capsuleer Day 22, codename Nexus Reckoning, begins on the 15th of April. It is a full-scale seasonal event with daily login rewards, exciting and lucrative challenges, as well as faction-driven war that spans wormholes, Pochfin, and Empire space. The turning point is almost here. It's time to act. Let me turn on my desktop audio so we can play this. I just realized. I don't want... They keep using copyrighted music, so since they're not saying anything, I'm just going to leave it muted. That's an important message to know, because obviously the drifter wormholes are very dangerous. I mean, they're nullsec, and there are only 5 of them. Excuse me. So, you know, the activities within those wormholes are going to be very, very dangerous. So the idea that there's going to be stuff for everyone implies that there's definitely going to be sites everywhere in Empire space. Is nullsec going to feel left out? Well, all I'll say to that is that, like, this is the story stuff. Nullsec is about player stuff. Usually when the drifters get involved with nullsec, they get really mad. We'll see. They'll find a way to get mad, I'm sure. Looking at this still picture from Capsuleer, it looks a lot like the drifter capital ship. Yeah, so... yeah, that's an interesting piece to this, where we can see, okay, there is the drifter battleship. We can see a drifter battleship right there in the front, with a drifter cruiser right there. And in the back. And then we see... mining, I guess. There's their supply caches that we've seen. This is the drifter structure that we've seen in both the destructive scrutinizer, which is in the dread site, basically bombarding a civilian structure with radiation in order to record the torturous results of that, and the vigilant dreamer, which is the heart of each of the drifter crises, that's processing all of this information and apparently creating simulated baseliners. Both of those structures use this same model, which is important because that's not the same model. I had somebody tell me that this looks like the Vigilant Dreamer, and I disagree pretty strong. It does look a little bit like the Drifter Battleship, almost. It honestly looks a little bit like a pacifier, right? Hold on. Am I right? I mean, a little bit like a pacifier, or like a shuttle, but a lot bigger. A lot bigger. It has this like lower fin and the side fins, and you can definitely see hold on. So we can see up close, there is light. There's like the normal drifter lighting. This is clearly a drifter design. What's weird is that this part down here looks like it's facing like that way, but the rest of the ship looks like it's fitting like that way, right? Either way, whatever this is, it looks like something that we've never seen before, but it's definitely drifter in design. You can see the different, like the normal drifter spikiness and stuff. The lightning effect, I think, is from the Edencom ship here, but you can never know. We see an Edencom ship, an Angel ship, and a Triglavian ship. I guess nobody let them know that the Angels didn't make it. Oop. Spoilers. All right, so here are the final results. We have the Triglavians with almost a quarter of all of the points. I just heard a crash in the other room. Let me go check. It's twisted a bit on the y-axis, or it's badly drawn. I don't know, man. Like, we don't actually know what angle that is. It's just, I'm just saying, like, it's clear that, well, like, we see this like curve there and not on the other side. Otherwise we would feel like this was straight on, right? I don't know. I do not know. I don't know what this thing is. There's also some cool smoke coming off of this guy, which I'm not sure. Is that one of the skins that already exist? I'm not sure if that skin exists either. check the other room. Oh. Well, no, my dog just came in here and sat on the bed looking a little bit innocent, so I think we'll be fine. So, yeah, is this a new Drifter capital? Maybe. I would not be surprised if this is some sort of command center facility or something within the Drifter hives that we have to deal with, but we'll see. All right. So, Triglavians get almost a quarter of all of the points acquired during the Drifter Hives Race for the Hives event, with Kaldari getting 14%, Mimitar 12.5%, Edencom almost 12%, and Amar beating out the Angels at 11.3%. And we can see here is the points total. And we can see this big spike area right here where it starts to tilt up. That is the during the time that like everybody was able to swarm it. And then so we can see like the Triglavians scale up, and a lot of some people go up during that time. These big spikes here, like this one that takes Mimitar from the bottom to near the top, I think this point here at between 8 and 9 is when the doodads are turned in. And here is the final total, with Upwell earning 9,000 points. For the record, I think it was what? Was it 2,000 points? How many points was it to get the Drifter plug suit? How many points was it to get the Drifter plug suit? 2K. So, less than 5 people got the Drifter plug suit for Upwell. And only 22 people? What? No, that's 45,000. Never mind. So that would be... Wait. Yeah, so that's like 22 people? Is that... I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. Stop. Time out. Time out. Time out. This is the highest score per faction for an individual. So Mimi earned 9,000 points for Upwell, while Ramila Malita earned 45,000 points, which is 23 times what's required, almost 23 times what's required to get the Drifter plug suit on that character. So that's a lot of effort. All of these names on here put in way more effort than they needed to in order to help support their people. So good for them. These intrepid factions will not stand alone. They will rely on Capsuleer support to hold ground, defend against retaliation, push deeper, and ultimately secure control of the Drifter systems. At the start of Capsuleer Day, Drifter Wormhole Space will see massive overhauls with 2 new combat sites revealed. The Labyrinth Complex, which will be gated to Tech 2 battlecruisers and below, and the Nexus Point, which where an even greater threat lurks. The deeper you go, the higher the stakes and the greater the rewards. Remember, this is also like... So, Drifter wormholes, there's only 5 of them, and they're some of the most connected systems in New Eden. And the Drifter wormholes can't be collapsed like normal wormholes very easily. So, the Drifter wormholes can connect to any system with a Jovian observatory, and is usually connected to 10 to 20 systems or more at any given time. So given that, and given the fact that it is nullsec inside of the Drifter wormholes, means that this is likely to be a very, very dangerous situation. And of course, expecting Tech 2 battlecruisers means that we're talking about fairly fancy ships required to do these sorts of sites. I do not see any information about the scale or the number of people that it's required or gate lockouts or anything like that. We'll probably know more as we get closer. Keep in mind that this is not a one-sided conflict. The Drifters are expected to retaliate, and as a last stand is mounted, pilots in all areas of New Eden will be able to do their part to influence escalating struggle. No region will be untouched by the war, and all Capsuleers can find ways to contribute. So, but can we use Drakes? Yes. Yes, you can. All playstyles needed. Every kind of Capsuleer is needed in the Nexus Reckoning. Whether your strength lies in combat, exploration, hacking, manufacturing, or market manipulation, there's always ways to contribute and profit. Industrialists and manufacturers will find new roles in supporting the conflict. Construction and distribution key items will shape how the war unfolds and who comes out ahead. So constructing and distributing key items. So we're going to need, so each of the efforts, right? So like the Amar effort in X wormhole might require people to go mine specific stuff and deliver it to somewhere so that way we can keep the war effort going. That seems pretty cool. This is what they should have done with Faction Warfare. The event's seasonal reward track offers exclusive skins, ships, and rare items to those who complete challenges across these different activities. Content in Drifter wormholes will grant the most progress on the track, but opportunities to earn great rewards will exist in all areas of New Eden. That means nullsec. Probably. Among the rewards on offer of Capsuleer Day are the new Drifter-themed skins, Skinner design components, boosters, mutaplasmids, and previously issued Capsuleer Day SOCT ships. The new combat sites may lead to experimental officer mods, and traders in the Labyrinth complex may offer rare Drifter faction modules and volatile boosters. Skins earned through the event reward track will be bound to your account, permanent marks of your achievement. However, loot recovered from the challenging sites, including skins, filaments, crates, and consumables, will be fully tradable, opening opportunities for economic profit and market speculation. In parallel, a full set of daily login rewards will be up for grabs. Log in each day to earn prizes that increase in value the longer you stay engaged. The big reward for Omega clones unlocks on the 6th of May, just as the conflict reaches its peak. Omegas can claim both reward tracks, and upgrading mid-event unlocks all missed rewards retroactively. So the big reward is on the 6th of May, and it starts on the 15th. April has 30 days. So 15, 21 out of... Oh, this doesn't say when it'll end. Probably 30? 21 out of 30 days? That sounds about right. 15 to 15? Oh, is it? Yeah. Frankie, there's going to be plenty of time, almost certainly. But maybe, who knows? With the full acknowledgement that I'm nominally pro-trig and that Edencom is on many levels a disappointment, the Drifter wormholes feel like a thing that they should have gotten as their Pochfin. I've said that, like, Edencom... Well, first of all, I think that every system 1.0 or above, or, you know, every 1.0 system should have been automatically fortified. And they should have put things in Edencom fortresses that are interesting. And they should have made it so that the Dreadnought that the Triglavians want to fight is in Edencom fortresses, and the Dreadnought that Edencom wants to fight is in Pochfin. So that way they have to invade each other's space. But, you know, whatever. That was years ago. We've moved on. Event content will surface through the agency and air opportunities, guiding Capsuleers through combat encounters, hacking sites, mining opportunities, and more. Some Drifter Crisis content will remain active, but will now be available outside of Crisis systems. Okay, so the Crisis sites might spawn outside of the Crisis systems, probably the hacking one in particular. In addition, the Horizon Siege Point site will return with some modifications inside Pochfin and Wormhole space. Okay, so that's cool too. So the Horizon Siege Point site was the one that was in the 4 systems linking to Zarzak, where you had to go in and fight the drifters there, and you got the different doodads from either null-sec side or low-sec side. You have to put the doodad in the thing, which causes the drifter battleship to spawn. So hopefully this will make Dutch happy. You know, they're basically... So all of the Drifters sites and content and everything that we've had here and there over the last year, sounds like they're bringing it all in for this one. Capsuleers from all walks of New Eden can get involved, interfere, profit, and prey on the unprepared. PvPers looking to disrupt fleets or pick apart explorers will find rich hunting grounds, especially in Wormhole space. This is a shared battlefield. No matter where you live, you can find action in your space. Prepare for the final stand. This is the culmination of a long and escalating war, and your actions will define how it ends. The factions leading the charge into Drifter space may emerge victorious, or they may be driven out. If the Drifters win, the consequences could reach far beyond wormholes. If Capsuleers succeed, they may help pave the way for factions to discover opportunities to begin research into some of the most dangerous and powerful technology in New Eden. The last days of Nexus Reckoning will see even more dramatic events take place, playing out across Empire space and inviting all Capsuleers to participate. Capsuleer Day 22 ends on the 15th of May, and until then, every login, Every combat encounter and every choice matters. This is the final phase of the Drifter crisis, and you will make a difference. So they're trying to get this out of the they're wrapping up this whole Drifter crisis stuff in time for FanFest, which is pretty cool. So if we take all 5 wormholes, the Drifters as a faction dead. Then I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that that's necessarily true, that the Drifters would be dead per se. That would be a pretty big ask. But I think it's interesting, this prospect. Now, this is a dangerous one, right? Because, like, so during Stargate Trailblazer, they never said that we could stop it from being done. Yes, they are not alive. That's true. Well, I mean, they are alive, but they're not. They're artificial. They're artificial intelligence derived. So I guess, what is life, really? So during the Stargate Trailblazer event, which was kind of the first, like, Capsuleers, you know, like, well, at least after invasions, like, Capsuleers, come help the Empires do a thing, right? And people assumed that the efforts could be stymied or disrupted, right? Since the Empires required our help, that means that if players ruined the people that are trying to help, then that could prevent the Stargate from being built, right? Wrong. Like I said, CCP never said that Stargate Trailblazer would be something that could be stopped, but people, including myself, assumed it was at first, and CCP Fozzie quickly corrected me, but a lot of people walked away from that feeling pretty bad because they couldn't change the outcome. And then, of course, there's the Othanoon event, where both sides were able to build their Stargate. The Caldari were able to successfully build theirs. The Gallente were not able to successfully build theirs. So that was kind of like the Stargate Trailblazer 2.0, but this time actually stoppable, and it did get stopped on one end. So this phrasing here, the reason why I bring this up is that this phrasing here is interesting because they clearly are implying that they could fail. And so I think, and I don't know if this is necessarily true, but it seems like there's going to be 5 distinct efforts, one for each of the Drifter wormholes, right? And so each of those efforts can be supported or disrupted, and each of those efforts could succeed or fail. So it's like, my question is, I wonder how many people are going to focus on supporting their faction in taking a wormhole, and how many people are going to pick their least favorite faction and attempt to stop them from occupying the wormhole. Something tells me that, like, so one of the reasons why the Gallente didn't do as good is because a lot of the Gallente RPers are in faction warfare, and faction warfare and this event was pretty much incompatible. What is life? There we go. So the Gallente, I personally believe that the Gallente didn't do as well because a lot of the people that support the Gallente have been focusing on faction warfare, which of course, you know, hold on. Where is it? Come on. Really? There it is. Which we can see here that the Gallente are, while they do manage to secure their kind of southern area, you know, they've been having to put in as much effort as they possibly can just to fight the Caldari here. So they've been very focused in faction warfare. Didn't have a lot of spare time to work on the Capsuleer Day thing. But, you know, given that, I think that means that these Gallente loyalists will be interested in potentially disrupting the efforts of Caldari or Edencom or even potentially Amar. But I would really love to see like some of the factions that didn't make it, especially the Galente supporters, really focus on disrupting maybe the Caldari's efforts. It's also going to be interesting to see like, okay, well, there's going to be new technology that's unlocked from all of this. And it's going to be interesting to see which one of these empires, or like how each of these empires get new technology. And does this mean that the Galente won't get new technology, but the Caldari, the Minotaur, and the Amar might? Because that is... Right now, there is no such thing. Like, there is parity within the empires when it comes to technology, like ships and stuff. And in fact, there's a branch of Concord, AG... 4... Shoot, I can't remember its name off the top of my head. There's an entire department of Concord whose entire job is to make sure that technology is shared within the empires. So it'd be interesting if Galente get left out of this tech and the other empires got it. I think it would be cool if the people that didn't get into the top 5 were offered rewards for disrupting the top 5 efforts, but I don't think that that's necessarily what's planned. If it's Tech 3 or something new, it has to be invented. Yeah, exactly. But my point is that, like, what happens if there's a new Caldari Tech 3 battleship, but there's no Galente Tech 3 battleship? That'd be pretty wild, wouldn't it? I mean, like, obviously the Galente would have to follow up within a few months or something like that. But, yeah, I don't know. By far, I think the most interesting one is, of course, the Triglavians one. Honestly, I'm kind of excited to see Edencom take charge. Because like I said, when I was talking about the New Eden News, I think it's really interesting that people supported Edencom, and I wonder how much of it is, like, people making a decision about whether or not they like the Drifters, or the Triglavians specifically, right? But, yeah. I wanted Angels to beat out... You wanted Angels to beat out Amar? I think I wanted to, too, although... So, like... CCP's finger on the scale? I don't think so. They've done a pretty good job. Like I said, I legitimately think what's interesting is that, like, as the Triglavians go up, you also see the Edencom ones go up. I feel like a lot of people got frustrated at Triglavians' early success, and Edencom and like supported Edencom as a way of, like, supporting Concord. Any way to find out how deep CCP Loki and Delegate Zero worked on this? I could ask around, but I don't know yet. But yeah, one of the things that was always weird to me about this is the decision, which factions got decided, right? Because you have the 4 empires. You've got Triglavians, you've got Edencom. Angel Cartel is a weird choice. I think that the biggest thing about the Angel Cartel is that... What? I'll have to look into that. I thought I saw him talking in Discord not too long ago, but I'll have to check. So, the Angels are, of all of the pirate factions, the most associated with Drifters, with Jovian stuff. Which, remember, all of this stuff is about... Oh, yeah, I think you are talking about Demiurge, Malik. Demiurge joined the company and then recently left the company. So... I just realized, like, Evermore and Angel Cartel got, like, tied. Oh, no, those are the 2 people, right? That's right. These are individuals. Okay, so... Actually, that's a good point. How many points total is there? Hold on. This is 4.5 million points. Okay. So that's like 1,000 drifter suits, right? Okay. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Like, SOCT, I can see why they're in there. Evermore is probably the big random one that's like, I don't quite understand what Evermore is doing in this list. I don't know what they're... Like, they have been kind of interested in the whole Drifter crisis stuff. But the one that I find very bizarre that they're not here... people actually fought for the scam coin peddlers Evermore. Yeah. More than Upwell. No, wait, hold on. No, not more than Upwell. Edencom got, or Evermore got the lowest score, period. Which makes sense, because nobody knows who the hell they are. Hey, Comey. How's it going? Comey? Wait a minute. Hold on. That's what I thought. Comey, you made the news. How's it going? You guys preparing for the event? I about did Evermore just for the hell of it, right? No one knows what they do. Well, Evermore. So Evermore, as we were getting closer to Uprising, and the empires were descending further, like diplomacy was absolutely collapsing. One of the major focuses, like the Amar had put. There you go, Comey. Weren't you talking about winning Eve for a little while? They sucked you back in, I guess. So where was I? Oh yeah. So one of the Concord groups, like Concord manages a bunch of different organizations that help provide services regardless of empire. And one of those services is Interbus. Interbus is their major hauling system. When your structure gets blown up and all your stuff gets put into asset safety, that's Interbus that does that, right? So Interbus controls and regulates transportation and the flow of stuff in Eve, or in New Eden. And when Amar put up their stellar transmuters in Egmar, Vard, and Turner, and the Turner structure began to destabilize the star, Interbus was kind of the focal point of the political battle between the Amar and Mimitar about the evacuation of the system of Turner. And in the middle of this heated debate, the head of Interbus died of a heart attack and was replaced by another guy chosen by the guy's son. And this dude immediately restructures Interbus as Evermore, an independent corporation, expands outwards to go into mercenary services, news, large-scale manufacturing, arms, as well as transportation and all that stuff, and reveals their new Paragon station. Paragon is now the Interbus becomes Paragon and becomes part of the Evermore restructuring. So Evermore is the parent company. Paragon is the under-company that was Interbus. And from there, they deploy the Paragon station with there's 8 different Paragon stations, each of which is ran by an artificial intelligence that has been embodied in a physical body. So Iris runs all 8 stations, no problem there. And they have been working on the Skinner tools and other cosmetics and customizations for players, or for capsuleers, I should say. Yeah. Iris. What did I say? What did I say? Iris. Yes, Iris is the AI for Interbus. Or yeah, no, there's no body or soul there. There's just Iris. Which I think, like, this is a good example of, like, I was talking about this the other day. Like, CCP has been doing a really good job at, like, making this story, this living story and stuff. This last year has been kind of interesting. There has been several very good videos and scope videos and stuff that has come out. But here's the thing. Like, we've had Alexander Ducassi and Iris now for over a year. Maybe 2, and actually I think 2 years, yeah. And we've never seen, like, Iris talks in game when you do the event. If you're a newer player, there's an event where Iris talks to aura and kind of freaks out aura because of how much power she has over your systems. But we have not yet seen Iris like present herself in like a New Eden News or in a in like a trailer or something like that, which I think is really unfortunate because she's an interesting character, and like if they want us to care about Evermore, it'd be nice for us to like be like people to be aware of this stuff and not have to watch my videos in order to understand what's going on. The Abyss was fairly pathetic. Wait, what? Depending on the tier. So, yeah. This is coming on the 15th. Obviously, we'll be covering this as it gets going. So as there's more information, we're going to be watching this. We'll be covering it all on stream. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that way you get the latest of the news. Let's see. The Abyss was fairly pathetic in terms of lore. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. The Abyss brought us a lot of lore. Huh. Interesting. I don't know. Let's see. Oh! Driggs brought us a lot of lore, but the Abyss is still a confusing mess of what it actually is. Well, it's the conduit loop constructs, of course. Well, you got to remember, like, literally almost, like, a huge chunk of what we know about the Triglavians came from the Abyss with the different trinary data relics? No. What are they called? Trinary data streams. That all came from the Abyss. The Abyss delivered a lot of lore, but the lore about the Abyss is relatively slim. I mean, we don't necessarily understand it very well. That's true. But, what's interesting, like, I think the bigger thing is that we don't know what the domain of Buyan is. Yeah? So, it's definitely time for more information. So, in addition to all of that, there is also, on Hobo Leaks, we did see there was a patch. I don't know if I agree with that, per se. I mean, I've done a lot of talking about the Abyss and about the Triglavians and all that stuff. I'm not... You're talking about, like, the Abyss that was released in 2019? Because, like, that became a fairly... Like, that was our introduction to the Triglavians. I wouldn't necessarily call that a distraction. Anywho, so we do have a bunch of new skins that were added to the game today. They are not currently available, but I assume that given the fact that these are police skins, these are probably going to be part of Plex packs or on sale in the New Eden store starting on Capsuleer Day. But the police skins are by far the most popular skin that CCP sells, especially now that Skinner exists, right? So we have a new set and quite a few big name ships getting this police skin this time. So we got the Paladin, the Marauder. We don't know what the Abyss is. We don't know how they live in it exactly. We don't know what the Buyan is exactly, and most of the Triglavian lore is about their interactions with Sancha drones and Jove. Yes, that's all true, more or less. I mean, we have theories about the conduit loop constructs, but yeah, I mean, I've covered a lot of that stuff before. I've always really liked the fact that the Triglavian lore has unfolded naturally. There's, you know, we now do have a dev blog or a chronicle that involves the Triglavians, which give us a little bit of information, but it'd be nice for us to get more answers. I agree, but I definitely, like, the Triglavians are probably my favorite faction lore-wise, just because of how much information is in fact there, but you have to know how to dig to get to it. And watch my videos. Anyway, Paladin, the Amar Marauder, the Heretic, which is the Amar Interdiction Destroyer, Interdictor, Purifier, which is the Bomber, Coercer, which is Tech 1, Destroyer, Oneros, Tech 2 Galente Logistics Ship, Catalyst, Galente Destroyer, Panther, Mimitar, Black Ops, Saber, Caldari, Interdictor, also one of the most popular interdictors in the history of interdictors, Hound, Mimitar Bomber, Vagabond, Mimitar Heavy Assault Cruiser, Thrasher, Mimitar Destroyer, Basilisk, Caldari Logistics, Falcon, Caldari Ewar, and Rook, the other Caldari recon ship. So both Caldari recon ships. And if we go into game, that looks pretty cool. Now, the real question is which... I think that means that these lights on the sides are going to light up and flash when you enter and exit warp. Not any real, like, ongoing blinky lights. Very clean look. The Falcon. Ooh! Oh, I much prefer the black with white instead of the white with black. That's for sure. That's a good look right there. I would have thought that these two in the middle would blink. Looks like the still image from a Capsuleer Day. No, they don't. Sorry. Sorry to say that. Hold on. So this is like almost like a carbon fiber. This one's smoky and definitely not police. That one also looks like carbon fibery. I think that these are the drifter themed skins that they're talking about in the dev blog. Hey man, I still want my snake hat that leaps out and grabs hold of someone when I'm webbing them. Yeah, no problem. I know, we're all excited. We're all excited. Basilisk. I already have a really good skin for the Basilisk, so, but this looks pretty nice. Definitely going to want some of these lights to flash better. But I've also got Vital Shift Ego, which is pretty great. They did say they fixed all the police skins. The preview window doesn't always show the extra stuff. That's true. That's true. They could actually flash. In fact, hold on. Let's double check. Yeah, see, so they don't flash right now. And then when I undock... Skinner's so freaking expensive. You can figure out ways to do it that, like, you can make skins relatively cheap if you know how, but you got to remember you're competing with skins that are purchased with Plex, so yeah, okay, so these lights are flashing, but didn't while I was docked. Is that because it doesn't do it while I'm moving? Let's slow down. Nope. Still blinking. It's still $5 per ship in Plex. Depends on the skin. Like, if you change every single detail about it, maybe? Like, if you... $5 in Plex is... 150? Okay. I mean, yeah. A lot of skins that you produce are going to be about that much. So, and then these lights aren't on while I'm inside. So yeah, let's just assume that the lights are going to work. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I've made some pretty cool skins. Uh, let's see. Oh yeah, I made a. You can make a solid black rifter pretty cheap. It was 30 plex total. This one is pretty fancy. This one's 90 plex. My Dark Cerberus, also kind of fancy. This one's 130 plex, but it's because it's got 2 different patterns and a bunch of shinies. Yeah. It can be expensive, that's for sure. But, you know, you're investing in your ship. All right, let's see. Thrasher. 3 layers and ability to put Imperial color Corporation logos as a layer. Yeah. Look, there definitely could be more done. Don't get me wrong. So these lights probably flash. I guarantee you there's going to be so many people running around with sabers role-playing police officers after this. Holy crap. In fact, hold on. Do they have it for... Now I can't... Oh. I guess not. The Heiress? Isn't that what it is? Nope, there is no police skin for the Heiress. I already do it with my crow. Yep. All right. Vagabond. That would be cool if they launched flashing red and blue bubbles. That actually looks pretty cool. I kind of like the reddish tint to the black on the police for the Mimitar. I actually really, really like that style. You've got the checker right there. This looks really good. I don't know if it's going to beat Heart Surge, but it's good. Hound. Well, yeah, the Amar Dictor just got one. That's in this set. The Heretic. Saber. Oh, yeah, that was the Thrasher. This is the Saber. This is the one that people are going to roleplay with. Is there any difference between the two? Hold on. Nope, look basically the same. Panther? Oh, yeah, and it has that like reddish tint too, man. I wonder if Drake's gonna get this. I've been thinking about picking up a Panther. Oh yeah? Watch out, these bigger ones are gonna be probably pretty expensive. I would not be surprised if like the Paladin or the Panther or whatever in like a $300 Plex pack or something like that. So it'll be like a couple billion on the market. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's true. The Panther itself is worth like 8 or 6 billion or something like that. 4 or 5 billion? No, 2, 3. 1, 2? 1, 2. Catalyst federal police skin. I dig it. I wish we had a Catalyst Navy issue one. Stop it. Really? Huh. Okay. I thought right-clicking on that would... Oh, this is the ship. It's just... This is the ship window. It's just pulled up to the skin window. Because that's how this works now. Catalyst Navy issue. Oh yeah, I already have the police skin for the Catalyst police issue. That's why. I thought that was picking at the back of my mind. Orneros, federal police skin. For all of your Logi needs. I'll use this one instead. Coercer. Also looks pretty good. Purifier. I could see people grabbing this. The Manticore one is pretty valuable, or at least was before they started selling them again. Black Ops to also get a SWAT police skin with full dark and blinky lights. One of the most expensive skins for one of the most expensive ships is the Marshall. Has the... I actually gave mine away. Or it was part of a competition, or like when I got Twitch partner, we did a giveaway for it. But here is the Sorrow SWAT skin for the Marshall. So you could just use this as a template. Heretic. Same as the, more or less the same as the Coercer. Yeah, I think it's exactly the same. And the Paladin. This is the one, I mean, I have almost all of the, well, I have, I guess, half of the Paladin skins? Man, I need to get more of them, apparently. Whoa. War for the Empire. We haven't seen this one yet. This is... I believe this is from the board game. Order of St. Tetramon. I don't have Lava Core? Wait, I don't have Lava Core? That's wild. But yeah, this police skin here, like, you can see the IIP here, the Imperial Police logo kind of lights up and shines back and forth. You've got the blue core, the line down the middle. Yeah, I should pick that up. Yeah. The Thanatos, right? No? Is it the Hell? Or the Nyx, rather? I thought the Thanatos did too. I know it's on the Nyx. There it is. The Nyx is probably like one of the most skinnable ships in the entire game. It just looks good. Yeah, the Erebus has one too. But yeah, so these are not necessarily the skins that are coming with the event, because these aren't the Drifter themed skins, but these are skins that are being added to the game soon. My guess is Plex packs, but it is true that if we go into the New Eden store, under ship skins, we should be able to find them. Are they gone? Yep, we got Erebus, Thanatos, Nyx, Ninazu, and then down here, Raven, Megathron, yeah, all the the battleship police skins, etc. So there's a reasonably good chance that they could just show up in the Plex store. But I think that they might be part of like a Plex pack or something like that. So just be prepared for that. Make sure to grab your 1,500 free skill points for the week. And that might just about do it for the day, guys. Have we caught up? Is there anything else I've left out? Hold on, let me go double check to make sure there's no other topics. Oh! Yep, there's a whole nother topic. It's kind of silly that you can't use Red Cross in games because it's a war crime. Well, I mean, on the one hand, yes. On the other hand, things like the Red Cross is so important that I think it's okay sacrificing it for our games. But, oh yeah, also, by the way, they have changed the structure of the shipyards in you know, that one place in Zarzak. The 2 drop-off points now look like they are deathless structures instead of upwell structures. Hey, look, there's the other thing that we need to talk about today. If we come down to new files, yeah, we'll see. Here's one of them. The hiccups. The Sisters of Eve is the in-game equivalent to the Red Cross. Yeah, in a lot, somewhat, yeah. I mean, they would like to be, for sure. I would say that they're closer to like Easter seals or something like that. But yeah. I'm actually really surprised the SOE weren't the 10th competitor instead of Evermore, personally. But, hold on. So... Oh, yeah. There is no Red Cross on this thing, is there? I mean, you could probably make a skin for it. All right. Why do people keep talking about the hiccups? I'm lost. Okay. Well, Malin, so the thing is that SOE, there's certainly a chunk of SOE that is basically the Red Cross. That's why I was saying like Easter Seals or some other like religiously oriented service center. I would love to see a CCP actually make all of the family skins for all ships. Not only that, I'll do you one better. I've actually said this before, and there are reasons why CCP haven't been able to do this yet, but I strongly believe that the loyalty point store should have standings requirements for certain purchases. So, oh, okay, no problem. So, like, if you go and do missions for Tash Murkon and get 8.0 standings, now you can buy those skins. And you'll be able to sell those skins on the market. You're just now the provider of that kind of skin for the market, which means that like committing deeply to one corporation can actually benefit you because you'd be able to acquire things that people that hadn't dedicated that much would be able to do it. So like you could make a name for yourself as being like the supplier of Tash Murkon skins or something like that. That's what I've always wanted, but it feels like we've gone further and further and further away from that over time. But yeah. I've always wanted there to be more value to like different people able to get different value from LP because of what they have available to them. You know what I mean? Speaking of LP store, I think that they should add buyable SP for PvE mission LP so new bros can grind for SP. People will figure out a way to make that shitty. They did just get rid of the ability to farm skill points. So people were rolling new characters on their second and third slot, doing the air MPE, getting to the skill point reward, and then biomassing that character, putting the skill points on their main character, and then doing it again and again and again. And while this has been a fairly okay method for newer players to kind of get caught up, CCP recently got rid of that for what should be obvious reasons. But yeah, like we have to, you have to design such things against like bad practices, right? So maybe a limited amount could be cool, or maybe even like you could buy alpha daily injectors, which have a very limited usefulness to them with LP store. I don't know. But even then, like if people can buy alpha skill injectors with LP, why would they buy it with Plex and CC? So you'd have to convince CCP that it's okay for people to stop buying alpha skill injectors for Plex, which probably isn't a huge amount of their Plex being spent per month or whatever. Probably not a huge amount of their revenue, but still, like, So it's a challenge. I think that the LP, especially since they keep seeming to use the LP store for very different things, it really feels like they need to make it a little bit more robust and interesting of a system. They did include a 2-for-1. Yeah. But that's, again, for, like, money, Plex, such. That's actually, Tomas, that's actually a really cool idea. I think that, so, like, in other games, I think in Eve Echoes, there were chips that would, like, give you a skill. Not just train you, but like just give you that skill. Now, granted, for that case, it was like your learning skills. So it was like a thing that you injected in, and now you have this skill that increases all your other skill training. But I like this idea of almost like a permanent expert system, you know, like it gives you a skill permanently. And I think that one of the best uses for this actually would be in the tutorial or around, somewhere during the early gameplay period when they're getting you to fit your ship. It'd be really cool if they set you up to fit a ship and have it not fit because of power grid or CPU. And then they grant you Power Grid Management 5 and CPU Management 5, because people have asked for those two skills to be taken out of the game because it's such a big barrier between experienced play. You know, it's a big barrier for experienced players that are trying to help newer players to deal with fitting issues that they may not necessarily have. But I think that the lesson about CPU and power grid, that CPU management and power grid management, like teaches you, I think it'd be really cool if they were like, oh, this doesn't fit. Here's a skill. Blah. See, look, now it fits. I think that that would be really cool. Do they do that with the repair module? I'm just saying, like, I think that there would be, yeah, there they tell you to unallocate unused points. I just think that it'd be cool if there were items, or they could offer skills as reward. I know there's a lot of people that'd be freaked out about that, and there's like slippery slope issues or whatever, but I think that honestly it would be pretty good, especially with like Magic 14 skills. What if you could pay, you know, $50 and just train all of the Magic 14 instantly? I think that I mean, like, that could be a fair one, for example. So, just some thoughts. That's right, you do have to do the mining upgrades one in order to fit it. But I still, like, I'd love to see it be a lesson in how power grid management and CPU management work. Because otherwise, that's kind of a piece that doesn't really get explained, and you're left to not understand. Could also just make T1 ships have a more lenient baseline fitting in general. I mean, you do that, then more experienced players will wedge even bigger stuff in it. Like, you know, Vexor used to be able to have an 1600 plate on it pretty easily. So that made them pretty tanky. All right, so monthly economic report for March of 2025. Hold on, let's go. Make sure we pull up. Really? Really? Hold on. Release the graphs! Where it get monthly economic reports. February, January. I hate that they don't tag them all correctly. All right. So, before we even begin, let's talk a little bit about what happened. Actually, patch notes. GPU pipeline. Anybody notice anything from the GPU pipeline? Somebody was talking about a green POS shield earlier. All right, so Drifter Crisis. Where is... Yeah, warp speed changes. Mining changes. So this happened on the 12th. So on the 12th, CCP did their major revenant update, which changed a lot of things. Wait, is that right? There's the fill up, spool up timer. Ship balancing. Graphics. Mining. Okay, yeah. So this is the big revenant update that they did, which made a lot of changes, including adding a lot of new mining possibilities in nullsec for people, fixing the adding a bigger site and some other stuff too. So that's worth noting. That happened halfway through last month. So that said, let's go ahead and look at what we got. So remember, where we were at was production is at like an all-time high. And because of the Metadox moon drills, a lot of the minerals that used to come out of moons, pyrite, mexilon, as well as the nullsec mineral, I think it was morphite, right? Were becoming strangled, were becoming a significant bottleneck. There was not enough mexilon and pyrite in markets for the amount of production that was going on. This is causing the mineral price index to continue to climb to its highest it's I think ever been, and people were freaking out. People in nullsec said that they didn't want to mine because of the changes for Equinox, and even though CCP introduced new stuff over and over again, it still wasn't enough, and we were we had kind of leveled out, and then in comes CCP Akami saying he's going to fix it all. And so then comes that big patch, okay? The production has stabilized, and we've seen a marked increase in mining, especially in nullsec. The bounty faucet also saw a dip in March, while the market tax sinks have increased. Boom. Okay, so what we can see here is this big spike up in mining, right? And we can also see over here, look at this. That angle goes from 40% all the way down to almost 30%. So a 10% cutoff there, and it pushes up here too. So this had people freaking out. I wish there were more rigs. Oh, yeah. Well, rigs are hard to balance sometimes, I guess. I don't know. So we can see that, like, production is basically stable. A little bit less production than normal in... What is that? HiSec? No, Pochfin. Sorry, Destruction. Destruction stable, a little bit lower in Pochfin. Production stable. But mining is this big increase in nullsec mining. Almost probably about 10, maybe even 15% overall increase. Now, this chart here is a little bit deceptive because people were talking about, like, oh my god, this is ruining nullsec, lowsec, and highsec mining. Or, sorry, lowsec, whatever. The other kinds of mining. But the thing is that we see that this is just an increase in mining outright. This is a percentage. So this is a percentage of all mining, how much of that mining is done in nullsec, how much of that mining is done in lowsec, how much of that mining is done in highsec. So as people mine more in nullsec, it takes a bigger portion of the percentage. But as we'll see, we don't actually see a reduction in mining in the other areas of space. We see a minor, just a tiny, a couple of percent maybe reduction in mining for empires. And then this very close to doubling the amount of mining going on in nullsec. That is wild. Okami said it was an 80% increase in nullsec mining. That is a ridiculous spike. I was actually wanting to go back and look historical to see if I could find anything that even matched these numbers. Maybe back in the reign of the Rockwall or whatever. But obviously, we can see that, you know, there's a reason why suddenly Reddit got really quiet and everybody stopped complaining as much because they were all out mining. It's interesting. Hold on. Now I got to check something. We go to Eve offline. Let's compare these two charts. So this is a reason why the peak concurrent users is like such a weird metric to use. Because we can see December through April, like the player base, the amount of people online at any given time is almost stable, right? And yet, mining has almost doubled in nullsec. So this could be a matter of people doing other activities. But I think that also this is just a sign of how bad the MER or the peak concurrent users is. Because when people log, like it only counts everybody who's logged in at any given time. So it's interesting that we do not see very much at all as a change in peak. So we don't see more people playing for longer periods of time or whatever as we would have expected potentially. But if they're mining with Rorquals, then that could just create an increase without actually increasing the number of people doing the mining, which I think is what Tomas is talking about. We would expect there to be more new Rorqual deaths, right? I mean, sure seems like they're out there. Let's go back a little ways. I mean, this is January, and it looks like there's just about as many Rorquals dying then as it was now. Weird. Huh. PCU hides increases in not peak times. I agree, although it is also weird that, like, even during the troughs, they looked identical. Is there a way on Killboard to see how many Rorquals died before the patch and how many after the patch on 30 days? Well, I just did a quick version. I went and looked at January versus now. So, yeah. We'll have to see how it plays out when it comes to that sort of stuff. But we do know that there is more mining going on. No questions asked. And production has actually started to fall off. So we're going to see potentially mining materials are going to go down in value by quite a bit because less production plus more supply. Asteroid mine per region. Here we go. Amencia, Impasse, Paragon Falls at 5 billion. Whereas previous month, The Forge, Veil of the Silent, and Metropolis at just about 4 billion. So The Forge, number one, at just under 4 billion. 3.5, three and three quarters, whatever. Beaten out Immensia, Impasse, Paragon Falls, Veil of the Silent, all beating out everything in high sec, with Metropolis going number 1. And the Forge is still up, or at least at where it was. The Forge hasn't really changed. It's still at just about 3.8 billion. Metropolis has gone above the Forge. Here we have Veil of Silent, Impasse, Metropolis, Forge, Sync Liaison. So this is much more similar in January. But these are still all below 4 billion. Whereas these 4 are all above 4 billion. Goons having 2 regions at 5 billion is crazy. Yes, that's true. Remember, this isn't ISK. This is M3 of rocks. That's a lot of rocks. Gas mined over time. There is a slight uptick in gas for March. Gas volume mined over time. Iridia continues to be well and truly in the lead, going from 30. It's up probably 10%. That's true. The gas is in demand for capitals and battleships, right? Battleships still need the gas? I don't remember. Yeah, they're building caps like crazy. Ice mined over time is very flat. Ice volume by region. The Forge. 4.5 goes to 5. So ice is also up total. But, or at least more concentrated. Metropolis is at 3. Metropolis is below 3. So yeah, we see ice becoming more concentrated in Caldari space last month. All right, moons. It's interesting to see how little this impacted the moon drills. They did make moon drilling more expensive, so I would expect this to kind of fall off the green portion, but it seems to be that they're still going just as strong as they were before. And they have definitely kind of flatlined out. Gas prices being up helps newbies get rich quick. It's true. It's the most valuable kind of mining that an alpha can do. Yeah, we should probably see it more in April's MER. But what we definitely are seeing is people are not immediately shutting off their moons as soon as this change happened. Moon minerals, moon material value by region. I mean, a lot of especially these bigger players, these bigger blocks are going to... They're only going to change if they need to change, right? Catch went from 0.4 trillion in green to less than 0.2 trillion, like 0.1 trillion in green. Huge shift in catch towards moon mining. So that's weird. The fuel for them is technically free. You don't pay anything to produce them. Well, you have to, I mean, that's not necessarily true. I mean, if lava planet material is free, then all PI is free. And we all know that that's not true. All right. Geminate is the top exporter, with Sync Liaison at the right below it, with Forge being the top importer at 31. Down from 45. Yeah, boy. Nothing really jumping out at me as being too interesting there. ISK sinks and faucets. All right, let's see. Bounty prizes are at 46 trillion. Same as last month, almost smack on last month. So that means that while mining has increased, we don't see a big shift over from ratting. Probably. Commodity is 40, goes up to 43. That's probably because of the event. There's a commodity in the event, right? There's commodities in the event. They're small, though. ESS main bank auto payment. So again, this is going to test the ratting specifically, especially in nullsec. So 24 trillion versus 24.3. So yeah, ratting in nullsec is basically the exact same this month as it was last month. So I don't know if that means that there is like more ratting in the first half of the month and less in the second half of the month as people shifted over to mining, or if people just like other people started mining or whatever. But we definitely see just as much ratting as before. Sanchez incursion goes to 20 from 17, but that goes up and down depending on the how things are playing out. Triglavian invasions, which is largely the Pochvin stuff, goes from 8.5 to 8.9, which, if I remember correctly, is much better for as far as health goes. 90% AFK ratting. I mean, that's fine, but I mean, well, whatever. But what I'm saying is that these people are there's clearly people. The people who are ratting are likely still ratting, and there are different people that are doing mining. And in fact, if anything, it looks like people are shifting from mining in, say, high sec to mining in null sec more than people switching from ratting to mining. Because we also don't see a large increase in the PCU, which if people were logging in their alts, we might see that. So it's going to be it's interesting to keep kind of paying attention to this to see how people are reacting to everything going on. I can't wait till FanFest when they start to give us cool numbers. There are tons of miners in nullsec that had their alts on hiatus till that patch. Well, again, we don't see a big change in the PCU though. Likely going from level 4 missions to mining? Yeah. Would not be surprised. That still would mean that people would have to rat more to make up for the difference, because that's still bounties. Hold on. Agent mission reward. 3.8, right? Is that right? 3.8? Yeah, 3.8. 3.2. No, there's more people. There's more mission running going on than before. Yeah, people are going from station spinning to mining. There's just like more activity across the board. I think the bigger rocks really increase the effective mining time. That's true. That's true. There definitely could be just a raise or an increase in efficiency of mining, but I still don't think it would be 80%. Yeah. Yeah, they might be reallocating their alts to different positions. Oz is out of the station. I wouldn't go that far. Yeah. I mean, that's very possible. Commodities. Looks like an uptick in Triglavian data. I wonder if that's people running the Abyss. Top 8 sinks and faucets over time. Here we go. So January, February, March. So it's like the last third of this area. So, whoa. Okay. Nope. This tells a much clearer picture. Look at that fall off in ratting. Look at that fall off. So yeah, we had high bounty payments at the first half of the month. And then it fell off as people switched to mining. I'm pretty sure. And we see that Sancho Incursions is on its downswing. That's why that number was down. Triglavian Invasions is about even. Transaction tax, they just increased the taxes, right? So that's what that is. Money supply continues to slowly grow. Trig data from deep flows. Could be. For what? That'd be a commodity, wouldn't it? Yeah, I don't see a big spike in commodities the way that we normally do during events, right? Like, you can see here's the Christmas event. This miscellaneous is the Halloween event. We're going to see another one here next month with the next event. Velocity of the ISK remains somewhat, pretty much stable. A little bit of a trend upward. Mostly seen in not contracts. Look at that MMPI. Whoop, boom. That is a big downswing on that MMPI. That's the mineral price index, the cost of minerals. You can see it fell 16%. Oh, yeah, that's a really good point. During Capsuleer Day, everybody's going to get a copy of each of the SOCT ships. So it's a good time to pick up your Synesis, your Praxis, pick up extra Praxis if you need it. What? Not for free. They're always on the event track. Oh, no, they're usually on the login track. Are you sure they're not in the login track? Hold on. Among the rewards on offer in Capsuleer Day are new Drifter-themed skins, Skinner design components, boosters, mutaplasmas, previously issued Capsuleer SOCT ships. I think that it's still going to be the login track. They're on the event track this year. They said on the dev stream today. There's a dev stream today? I should have watched that. It's not, I wouldn't say super expensive, but they're definitely not going to bounce back the same as they were. Well, actually, oof. That's going to be one to watch. Because if people freak out because there's not, like, people assume that there's going to be a new influx of SOCT ships next week. And so if the influx is not as big because it's a reward track instead of a, then that could be interesting. That could be interesting. Because people might speculate high because the supply is lower. Everybody uses them for everything, man. I just did my transportation Synesis guide the other day. Like, everybody who operates in high sec or low sec needs to have themselves a transportation Synesis. The Praxis is an amazing ship. Gnosis can be pretty darn good, too. All right, let's see. Praxis gets used a lot everywhere. The Praxis is unreasonably good. Not any significant changes here. All right, mineral price index. Yep, prices went down. Look at that. Both high and low. We see a drop-off in raw moon materials and a big drop-off in asteroids, which is, you know, obviously. An increase in commodities. Okay. Whatever. Ship and module prices are now going down. Ships are down 1%. Modules are down 11%. That seems weird. It seems weird that this little tick down is 11% delta and this tick down is a 1% delta. I apparently don't understand how deltas work. Flown any metamorphosis recently? I have a hobby of, like, every time I get in a metamorphosis, it explodes before I can do anything with it. So I tend to not use them as much. I lost like 3 of them in the first week. I was like, fuck. All right. Whatever. Not my ship, apparently. Wormholes. Let's see. So last month we had 7.5, 3.9. Now we have 7, 4. So a shift towards the higher class. We see a big export of gas out of class 4, which is interesting because we saw... Yeah, we do see it. Yeah, there's the increase in gas being mined. Mostly, it must be mostly out of C4s, maybe? Because that's a big export. Largest battle by system, and that's it for the MER this month. Let me know what you guys think. I think that this is, I mean, like, everything is looking up. First of all, like, we have an increase in activity almost across the board. I think this is a pretty exciting time. Not just that anyone can fly a Gnosis, but their lock speed and ability to fit buffer is crazy. The slot layout is so huge. Like, you can make a Praxis do basically anything you want. All right, well, that is it for the MER today, which I think is the end of the show. Metas are rarer than the rest of them because they're recent. And make sure there's nothing else. Nope, nope. I'm going to look into whether or not I can stream Frontiers when it's free to play. Or when it's, you know, everybody can play it. We'll see. I don't know. But then obviously we have the event coming up on the 15th. Where we still have to have a lot more information about where things are going. One more week. Yeah. I just had to check. None of the skins for the Kizriel has that green smoke effect on it. So that looks like a new skin or a new effect. All right. Well, I think that should just about wrap it up. I've been Asherothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put even to context for you, my fellow Imperials. Thank you guys so much. Well, yeah, but I don't know whether or not that's true for the 11th. I'm going to have to look into that. Probably it is, but if it isn't, then I'll be able to check it out, or I'll be able to show you guys. I actually haven't played... I honestly haven't logged into eFrontiers since the last time that they did a open thing. Thank you guys so much. Look, I apologize for being gone. Like I said, my son had a spring break. We had to end up giving up our cat to the vet because she was having too big of a problem. And then we've been struggling with my son getting him to go to school and like do the right thing and all that stuff. So now the interesting news is that right now he's actually staying with his mom. So I should actually be able to stream more than normal from now on. So we'll see how it plays out because everything plays into... Yeah, I know. The good news is, okay, she was getting pretty sick and unable to go to the bathroom. She hadn't gone to the bathroom for 2 weeks, but when I brought her in. And but she's okay now. She's okay now. One of the nice guys at the vet that I go to said that, like, I wasn't ready to afford to constantly get her these treatments. People supported it a few months ago, and I really appreciate that. But, like, the problem's going to keep coming back for the rest of her life. So he took her in because he can make sure that she gets all the treatments. So I've gone in a couple of times, and I've said hi to her when she's in there. She's doing so much better, guys. It's okay. And it's me and my puppy and my guinea pigs now. So, and you guys. So hopefully I'll be able to stream more. I've just had to get everything, my life back in order. I would have liked to have actually streamed more today, but I still have like appointments and stuff this afternoon. But expect to see or more content from me, hopefully, if this goes the way it's going. But my life right now is incredibly chaotic, and I'm just trying to keep up. And I appreciate your guys' patience so much through all of this, and your support. If you want to support the show, oh, hold on. Any rate, yeah, so just talk to me. Yeah, let's hop in the Discord, stay in touch. I do not plan on this being away from it. It was really good to be back, guys. It's always hard to, you know, it's always hard to get back on the horse, as it were, after you've been off for a little bit. But you guys are great, and we're going to keep on going. Keep track on the Discord if you're interested. Also, if you want to join us and help maximize player engagement with EVE Online, we are recruiting. So go ahead and hop in the Discord so that way you can keep track of the streams and, you know, hang out with the community or even decide to join the convocation. And if you haven't yet, make sure to get your 1,000,000 free skill points with that link down there. To get you started in the game, and it helps support the people that help the stream. And thank you once again for everybody who support the stream. Become a supporter with just $1 a month, either over here or on Patreon. And yeah, how do I join the Discord? There's a link right there, 2 lines above you, with a link to the Discord. So that's true. I am interested to know, like, if people want me to stream at different times, but I think that asking that right now is going to be a very biased way of asking. So it's just something that we'll be talking about. If you see this, give me a heads up about what could be best for you, what kind of content would be good for you. So we are not Imperium. We are Empyreans. Empyreans. Empyreans, which is a kind of angel, which is the title for Capsuleers. It's all Capsuleers are Empyreans, not Imperium, which is a player organization. I know it's very confusing. I get it. But technically, Empyreans existed before the Imperium was named Imperium. So we got it first? Kind of. At any rate, yeah. So feel free to join us if you want. Hang out. Have a good time. I've been Asherothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put even context for you, my fellow Empyreans. I don't know if I already said that or not, but thank you guys so much for coming. I will be back very soon, and until next time, I'll see you in space. I still have to edit that fucking turret video.
Bring on the wrecking machine. YC